It was episode 250. They opened the show with a barn burner. They went a full 60 minutes with Will Ospreay and MJF. And just when I thought for sure we were getting a draw, nope. MJF pulls out the ring, steals a victory. Did you have a chance to catch MJF and Will Ospreay last night on Dynamite?
No, I didn't. It'll be interesting. I've read about it this morning. I've seen some clips. Without having seen it, I hesitate to comment too much, other than to say, based solely on what I've read and your comments just now, I applaud AEW and Dynamite and Tony Khan for doing something different.
Yeah.
I don't know if it worked or not. I have to watch it. And by worked, I don't mean did it get, did they hit a million viewers? No, they did not. They may not ever see a million viewers again. But in this context, it doesn't really matter what the ratings are. The fact is they tried something very different. It may have bombed. It may have been a horrible idea. Or it may have been a really, really great out of the box, let's surprise the audience with something that's different than, that's why I'm so excited about it. It's different than what they typically do. So hey, kudos without having ever seen it. And I don't care if the match sucks, which I know it doesn't, but even if it did, kudos, try something different. The only way they're going to get out of the hole that they're in, and they refuse to believe they're in, which is part of the biggest problem, is to do something different, because what they've been doing for the last 2 years has clearly, demonstrably, undeniably failed. It's not working, but they tried something different last night. And maybe the results of it, again, I'm not talking about the ratings, reaction to it, maybe it will inspire them, motivate them, or give them confidence to continue thinking a little bit differently than they've been thinking. So I'm happy.
I was really surprised that the full wrestling, if you're really trying to be different than WWE, starting the match and go full on wrestling in a single match, that was pretty cool. But I did just think, oh, okay, they're going to do the draw again. And when MJF stole the victory right there at the end, I thought the same thing you just said. Well, that's different. So we'll see how it works. Of course, as you and I are recording, we don't have the ratings yet. Not that it probably even matters that much, but I do want to circle back to something you just said. I'm not sure that they'll ever see 1 million again. You don't really believe that, do you?
Oh, I bet a lot of money on it. What could they possibly do? Now, if there's a massive change in vision and strategy and people involved in the creative, then maybe. I mean, there's always hope. But we both know how likely that is. So setting that off to the side, I'm looking at what they've got and where they've been and the talent. And I'm not talking about the talent in the ring and the talent behind the camera. There is absolutely no reason to believe they'll ever hit 1 million again. They're going to be lucky to hit 800,000 again. It's we're going to be into fall and football and college football and I think they'll have a hard time seeing 800. I think last night, if I had to guess, 705, 710, somewhere in there.
Now, Eric,
which is a high watermark. That's our 250th episode. MJF, Ospreay, two of the biggest stars, whatever. Two of the biggest talents in the company. Biggest stars in that company. 700 plus thousand viewers, cool. But like I said, maybe it'll start a chain reaction of creative vision or ideas, or just throw some other shit up against the wall. Something that doesn't involve fucking blood and 300 high spots.
But ever is a long time, right? I mean, ever is a long time. I mean, I'm just saying, like, you take a look at the ebbs and flows of the WWE, the ups and downs of WWE, I'm not necessarily comparing them. I'm just saying, like, their business has gone up and their business has come down and their business has gone up again. And we hear that phrase all the time. Oh, the wrestling business is cyclical. Is it not
No, it's
possible
not.
that
It's not for it's if it's cyclical, it's affecting both companies. I've been through that bullshit excuse before. I endorsed that position before. Oh, it must be that. That's not us. Not the fact that we can't come up with a good idea. It's not the fact that we don't have the greatest talent. It's not, no, it's not us. It's the wrestling business is cyclical. If the business is down for everybody in the sector, I'll entertain the conversation. That's not the case for AEW. They're down because the audience is not buying the product. It doesn't matter if it's professional wrestling or Jiffy Pop popcorn. People are either buying it or they're not. And less people buy the product every week. What do they have? Like 2,800 people at their 250th landmark show with the two biggest stars in the company, and they drew less than 3,000 people? That's not cyclical. That's just dying. WWE's business is up year over year. They're setting financial records every time they open their mouths. Attendance records, ratings, year over year. Business is not cyclical for them. It's only cyclical for AEW. And it's not even a cycle. It's like when you flush a toilet and
oh, come on now. God damn.
And it starts out slow and it's a downward spiral. It's slow.
Why are you taking so much joy in this?
I'm not taking joy. I take joy in pointing out fact versus the bullshit that lives because of idiots like Dave Meltzer, who are constantly making excuses that sound something like, and I'm not accusing you of peddling his shit, but it sounds like something, yeah, I know business is a little down, but, it's cyclical, and they'll come out. No, they're not. Give me one reason to think that AEW is going to come out of this downward cycle.
Well, help me understand. I understand you wanting to beat the death drum because you're doing a gimmick or something. I don't know.
But I'm not doing a gimmick.
We got 40,000 tickets sold for Wembley.
Who gives a fuck? Who gives a fuck? I don't think Turner Broadcasting, or excuse me, Warner Brothers Discovery does. I don't think the people that didn't buy tickets to last night's 250th episode landmark mega event.
Hang on. They were in North Little Rock, Arkansas. I just want to point that out. This is their debut in the venue, North Little Rock, Arkansas. This building was probably picked for routing on their way to Texas. I don't think they expected to have a shit ton of folks there. They've never been to the market before. They probably routed.
Then why promote it as a 200? Then why over promote it?
It's a television property, not a live event. Like the AEW is not in the live event business for real. They're a television. I mean, they're making their money from television. You know that.
I know that's all the money. Their pay-per-view and television are the only two revenue streams they have.
Yes,
with a $103 or $105 million talent budget. Let me ask you. It's a little lopsided, is my point. Let me ask you though. You're going to tell me that the only reason they picked Little Rock was for routing, and there was no thought given, there was no planning, there was no discussion about the fact, wait a minute, this is our 250th episode. We want to make a big damn deal out of this. We're going to treat it like a pay-per-view. Are we in the right venue? You think that conversation happened?
I think conversations like that probably happened a couple of years ago where they were really concerned about the optics. And I think now they're running a P&L more. I think there's been a change in leadership and they're taking into account, hey, to keep these trucks going, how much does that cost? And if we're trying to cut costs and get a P&L in line, we're going to lean into the fact that this is a television property because, and that makes sense, but while they're setting up residency in Texas, like if we're really going to do that on our march to Wembley, then we're trying to do that to cut costs and reduce some overhead. So that's probably why they went to Little Rock.
That's a defensible position. Not that you're defending them, but I mean, I understand that. If I was in a room and it was like, if I'm the guy advocating, wait a minute, this is our 250th episode. We want to get some momentum. We want to correct course. We want to reestablish our brand and create some enthusiasm and momentum. What better time than our 250th episode? Let's go to a bigger venue where we know. Let's go to Chicago, whatever. Pick out a town where you know you can fill it up, or at least get as close as you can. I'm the guy selling that. You're the guy going, mucker father, look, red, black. There's only 2 colors of ink here, and all of it's red if we decide to go to whatever venue you want to go to. Here's how we stay in the black. I would hate to be that. I would hate to be in that conversation. I would be frustrated, but I would also know that that would be the right decision, despite my frustration and my emotion. So I get it. Can't be critical of that if it's actually being run like a business, because there's a lot of other things that suggest to me that it's really not. It's being run as a fantasy, a hobby. But if that's the case, that's the case. And the only risk in that is as you become more efficient and are managing your costs as you need to do, the perception of your product suffers. And that's the downward spiral. That's the death spiral. And I've been in it. I know exactly how it feels. It's like you're forced to make one decision that's only going to take you in the direction you don't want to go eventually. You may delay it. You may be able to camouflage it, but you're still circling the drain. And as you circle that drain, this is a perfect time for a Tushy commercial, by the way, but if you're circling that drain, the closer you get to the end of it, the faster it goes. And that's kind of why I don't think they'll ever hit 1 million viewers. They're in that drain. I know that sounds horrible. Oh, he's hoping. Oh, why did you sound so cheerful? I don't fucking sound cheerful. I'm the guy who's actually fucking been there on both sides of it. And I know what I see. And I know when I see it. Doesn't mean because I'm talking about it that I'm joyful about it. I'm convinced that I'm right because I've been there. And I've seen so many of the similar patterns, but it's not joy, just passion.
SaveWithConrad.com.
I'm Nick Castillo from Waterville, Ohio. I've listened to several of his podcasts for a few years and have always heard the ads for Save with Conrad. And my wife and I were looking to refinance, and we had looked into a couple different options. And then I had remembered one of the ads and contacted you guys. And here we are. We had some debt that we accumulated, and we wanted to pay it down, get everything in under a much better, more manageable APR. So smooth. I've never had anything finance go that easy. We got a chance to work with Francis and Larry. They made everything comfortable. They were very personable. They were on top of everything. They made sure we were on top of everything. They were with us every step of the way, kind of guiding us. So like I said, I've never had an experience that went that smooth. Right off the bat, we saved at least $250 a month. Within a couple of months, we'll probably be at the 400 to 500 mark a month. I'm Nick Castillo from Waterville, Ohio, and I've saved over $400 a month with SaveWithConrad.com.
NMLS number 32416, equal housing lender, SaveWithConrad.com.